Welcome to THA Talks, for free thought and open minds. Hello, I'm Paul Overtelly and you're listening to edition 74 of THA Talks, the alternative podcast show from the UK, bringing you weekly shows and all the best interviews we can get our sticky mitts on. If you'd like to check out our full archive, just go to www.thatalks.com to listen to or to download all our free content. Our talks include news, conspiracies, spirituality, the occult, science, history, art, philosophy, religion, and much more. For anyone who'd like to contact us and give us some feedback or recommend a guest for the show, you can email us at info@thatalks.com. Again, that's info@thatalks.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show via our RSS feed, and you can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher and many other podcast directories out there. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in again. It's good to be back here on THA Talks. Just winding down from a lovely sunny day here, mid-April in the UK, and we've had some glorious sunshine, so we're hoping, or most of us are hoping, that it's a good sign of a nice summer ahead, because we do look forward to our summers here in the UK, because we're often shortchanged and we don't like it. But we've also got another great guest coming up in a short while, and we'll be looking forward to that, David and I. And also, I'd just like to thank all of you people for downloading the show and telling your friends about the show and linking it. Also, the Children of Artemis website have been linking on our show on their blog page there, so thank you, Children of Artemis. Thanks for your support, and everyone else who's been telling their friends about it and whatnot. We've got definitely got more plans coming up in the future. I'll admit, I'll hold my hands up, I've been a bit lazy. Well, not so much lazy, but held up and occupied, because there's a lot of building works going off where I live at the moment, and it's a bit disrupting and has kind of thrown me off my pace a little bit. But rest assured, we're still sort of striving forward, and summer should be very interesting indeed. But onwards now, and we're going to go to the other side of London for a surge and a dramaturge and a man called David Parry.
Good evening, Mr. Overtelly. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Parry. How are you?
Well, you notice there's no song this evening.
Yeah, I did actually. That was a bit off of you.
Well, as I say, I'm recently back from officiating at a wedding in Leeds after a Malibu and a quick cheese toasty. I conducted the wedding of Kennedy Mumba and Vanessa Stoddart last Saturday. It was nice. A great honour. They're lovely, lovely, lovely people, and I'm sure they're going to have many years of great happiness ahead. And thanks to, of course, the Fellowship of Independent Celebrants, where I'm a registered minister / priest / Godie. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about bloody Virgin Media.
Oh, yeah. Last week, wasn't it? It was
Last week, I got cut off when we were doing the show by a company that seems to feel it can take our money but not have to supply a service.
Yeah, well, it's the cartel, isn't it? That's what's going on. I
am livid. They won't even admit they're in the wrong.
Oh, no, it isn't. Well, I think they're a bit of a cartel. They say to each other, look, you don't do this, we won't do it. So when the customer whines, we'll give them nowhere to go. We make all the money. They have to lump it. And that, unfortunately, that's what it is. A lot of these internet companies, it's true. The small print, they would say, if your internet goes down, tough cookies,
Well, there's more than one internet provider, so be careful, Virgin Media.
And we are using it right now, so I suppose you've got to be a little bit grateful.
No, I have to pay for services I haven't used. That's called robbery, not gratitude.
Well, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to speak to this evening's guest, Mr. Bonacci, who's a very interesting chap, very well known. What are your thoughts on the gentleman, David?
Well, I didn't know much about him until he came up for interview. He's a very interesting man indeed, quite a famous musician as far as I understand, with lots of similar interests to me, including astrotheology. So I'm quite looking forward to getting to grips with that one.
Okay, well, this evening we'll be speaking with Santos Bonacci. He's been studying astrotheology for over 30 years, compiling and translating his findings into more accessible terms. Living in Melbourne, Australia, he presents regular seminars, webinars, lectures and workshops around the world. Among his vast palette of subjects is a study of syncretism, bringing together all the fields of knowledge and wisdom and showing the interrelatedness of all things. His work also includes theology, natural science, astrology, reclaiming dominion, breaking the fictions of religion and law, as well as the holy science and ancient science based on the workings of the solar system, which is the science of as above, so below. Hello, Santos. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Well, it's quite late here, but I think you're just kicking off your day there, aren't you?
Yeah, it's early here.
Okay, well, last week when I was announcing that you were coming on the show and we were expecting you, and that we'd probably need about 20 hours to cover all your stuff because it's such in-depth stuff, it's so much stuff to go into. Maybe today we can just start off with the astrotheology side of things, which can also get quite controversial with the religious side of things. Let's start off with as above, so below. Where did that come from? Let's start off there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, the Egyptians used to teach that, and there was a little bit more to it that they added, as within, as without, etc., etc. What they were basically teaching was that as man manifests and appears in the visible world with his atoms and molecules and organs and blood flowing and everything so perfect that he can intelligently go about and do things, that model of man is called Adam Kadmon,
right,
or Adam or Atum, as the Egyptians called God and man, okay, because they knew that God, the ecliptic, or the sun on the ecliptic, was responsible for man or woman, the race of humankind, and everything else in the visible solar system is caused by the sun, the light of the sun. The light of the sun is very, very unique in all of the solar system. There are many, many special lights. And the sun with his helpers, usually it's called the seven helpers, but really it's there's more when you include the invisible planets, Neptune, Uranus and Pluto. But with the six luminaries, the moon and planets, the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Mercury, this is Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. This is all the 777s that you hear about, the G7. Those seven there, the seven colours of the rainbow, they are responsible for the seven colours of the rainbow. That's why the Neoplatonist philosophers called the sun the seven-rayed god, just as the Bible calls Samson, Shimshem, the little sun, the one with the seven braids of hair. So you've got the seven-rayed god and the seven braid-haired god. Same thing. Well, those lights, all of those seven lights are responsible for you and I existing and being composed molecularly. Without those seven lights, we would decompose and just vanish. All the atoms would just go elsewhere. So they are 100% responsible. And the sun on the ecliptic is producing all of the effects that you see in the world. And the ecliptic is Adam Kadmon. It starts at March the 21st at the equinox. All things begin on March the 21st at the equinox. There are 4 starting points along the ecliptic: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, the 4 tropical points. And those points are all in your body. As the sun begins its yearly course on March the 21st on the equinox, it begins sending its rays of light to the top of the head of every human being. The very top of the head is March the 21st. The very bottom of the feet in Pisces is March the 20th, the last day of Pisces. And as the sun goes along the ecliptic, it bathes every 360 degrees in in your body, and all the 360 acupuncture points, one by one, every day, and it goes through the body and restores all of those parts along the ecliptic and builds the body. The sun is the builder of bodies. The DNA comes from the sun. DNA is an anagram for Dan. Dan is the lost tribe of Dan. It's the Adan. It's the name of Adam. It's the sun. The sun is Adam. That's who the sun is. Adam Kadmon. He is the maker of all things.
Interesting.
And so they knew that.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, a few years ago, there was a bit of a craze. Or actually, first, before I say that, when you were talking about the 7 rays, also what came into my mind is the book. I think it was Alice Bailey wrote the book, The 7 Rays of Light. Or are you familiar with her stuff?
Oh yeah, Alice Bailey for sure. The 7 Rays of Light, and she also, she did a lot of great work illuminating the world really through the eyes of clairvoyance. You see, she was clairvoyant like Blavatsky and all of those guys. They were just blessed. They came at the right time when Aquarius was approaching the planet, and they were awakened at the right time. And so are we. We are the same as they are. We now are awakening to these sacred truths. When you begin to understand as above, so below, then you will understand, and only will you understand your place in the universe, and that we are here journeying. It is a journey. It's a transmigration of the soul. We don't come here to get a lot of fiat debt currency notes and put them in a bank account and hide them there and have all sorts of nice leather and gold and wonderful appliances for 70 years, then cark it with a heart attack and have a nice tombstone. You see, this is just all trappings that mankind, lost in his way, has devised so that they can be comfortable, and that they can, with fear governing their lives, they have lost their way. They have forgotten God. Now, God, of course, is light. It's electricity. That's all God is. It's nature. And the sun is God, because the sun is G-O-D, generation, operation, dissolution. Everything in nature does this. It's born, it grows, it dies. And the sun is responsible for this 3-phase manifestation of its electrical force. It's pure. The sun is just one big demiurgos show-off. He is just the king of everything in his domain, and he absolutely loves giving electrical displays to us and making things like trees and mountains and water and animals of all kinds and music and all kinds of wonderful things with its force, because the electricity is a force, and back of electricity is magnetism. They are two separate and different kinds of light. Magnetism is white light. It doesn't vibrate, and it's still. And it is the powerhouse which generates all electrical force. Suns, stars, planets, anything that you can see. They are all electrical phenomena which are centered and backed by magnetic power. Magnetism is all-knowing, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, immortal, and it's undifferentiated, unconditioned, and it is described by the philosophers as the universal mind knowing. There's 2 modes in this universe. There's knowing and there's thinking. 99% of mankind are all in thinking mode. They have opinions, they have illusions, they have delusions, they fight over their opinions. My God's better than yours. This color's better than the color you like. And so they have left the land of knowing. They don't meditate. They don't look after their temples. They eat what's called cuisine, which is richly cooked food with all sorts of condiments and stuff, which actually complicate the human organism, pollute it and kill it and destroy it with mucus. All diseases come from mucus, basically from cooked food, overcooked food rather. And so man has left the kingdom of knowing. When you take the K out of knowing, you've left with now. Now and know are exactly the same word. There is no difference. In the now, you have all the knowing you need. When you leave the now and you go into the past or the future, that now becomes thinking mode. You're thinking about the past, you're thinking about the future. And all of that thinking is pure noise, vibration. Noise is the wrong mode. The true mode of living is stillness and silence. Have a look at your guitar in the corner. Everyone has a guitar in their home or some kind of a stringed instrument.
I do, actually.
That instrument is there, sitting there, still and silent. The strings are not making any noise, not at least noise that the human ear can perceive. There will be some noise coming from that guitar, but you will never ever hear it with the human ears that you have. But it will be a hum. It'll come from the wood. It'll come from the steel keys. It'll come from the nylon strings. It'll come from the whole body of the guitar. But for all intents and purposes, for what our ears can perceive, the guitar is silent until you reach over and you pluck one of those strings. And all of a sudden, out of the silence, which is pure potential, comes a beautiful tone. Depends on which string you pluck, the E string, the A string. The A string's tuned to 440 hertz. Beautiful tone for the human ear. And then, and so that string will vibrate for as ever long as it vibrates. You will hear a beautiful mellifluous tone. And then that tone disappears. It returns to the stillness. The stillness gives it forth. The stillness takes it back. And the stillness owns all things. All potential is in the stillness. And this is the same with our bodies. Our bodies are a 7-rayed or 7-stringed instrument. Even to this day, the Chinese, with their 7-stringed harps, they will name every string to the planets, just like we have named the days of the week. Sunday for the sun, Monday for the moon, Saturday for Saturn, and they name their strings Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, etc., etc. And your body is exactly the same. The moon is the bottom chakra, the red one. And Kronos, the crown chakra, Saturn, is at the top, the indigo chakra. And all of these colours, they are the 7 colours of creation. They come from the 2 colours, red and blue. Blue is at the top of your torso, in the neck, and red is at the bottom, at the very, very bottom. Red and blue are the first colours which break forth from white, still light. When white light in its all-knowing decides it wants to experience, it splits and 2 colours are produced, red and blue. And these are the 2 halves of electrical force. Red is fire, blue is water. Red is masculine, blue is feminine. Red is hot, blue is cold. This war of hot and cold, which produces the physical world everywhere in the universe, is the war of the 2 brothers, the red and the blue. The red is the proton. Notice the R in proton. And the blue is the electron. El is the name of God. And Ra for the proton, is the other name of God. There are 2 gods, Ra and El. They are the proton and the electron. And they are both centered by Isis, white magnetic light. Is Ra El is real. Is real is what Israel means. And everything that is real is produced by Isis, white light, centering red and blue protons and electrons everywhere in the universe. And that's how simple theology is. You do not need to complicate it more than that. There's two kinds of light in the scriptures. One is the true light, magnetism, white light, and the other is the false light, maya, the illusion, electrical force. And people believe more in what they see in the electrical world than what they don't see and don't know, which is beyond and eternal in the magnetic world, simply because they do not meditate. Yeah. They do not go to the stillness.
Yeah, no, that makes great sense. Okay, I'd like to touch on some stuff, more of the kind of symbolic stuff. I mean, a few years ago there was a craze regarding all the similarities of religions and how many of the idols had similar stories and themes. One huge source was the first part of the Zeitgeist movie by Peter Joseph. What were your views on that movie, and how accurate do you think all those claims were? You know, like that comparing Jesus and Horus and so on. What were your views on all that?
Oh, look, when I saw that Zeitgeist, I immediately knew that these guys were onto something so big. And yet, you know, they only touched on it barely 15 minutes, and the powerful impact that it had on the world, it opened up the eyes of millions of people.
There was a bit of criticising from some people saying, well, hang on, that's not totally accurate and this and that. So that's why I was interested to ask you your views on it.
Yeah, that's why I came along and confirmed with many evidences and proofs and many video presentations in English, Italian, Spanish and Portuguese, proving that all theologies come from the ecliptic. Jesus is Osiris, is Viracocha, is Buddha, is Dionysus, is Bacchus, the god of wine and cereals. It's all the one. There is no difference. There is only one God, visible God, creator, demiurgos, and that is Jehovah, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, in the skies, and it's the sun, and that's it. And humanity will have to wake up to this truth sooner or later before they perish in their ignorance.
I think it's a positive thing. It sounds positive the way, you know. There you go. Some people get a bit offended by it, but to me, it's a positive thing, in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. It removes everybody's dogmatic perception of their Jesus. There's 30,000 registered Christian denominations, so-called Christian denominations on this planet, and they all kill each other for their different Jesus. And yet there's only one, as the great William Wallace said, the God you worship may be different to the God that I worship, but the God that made you and the God that made me are one and the same. And that God is the Son. There's no question about it. He is Allah, He is Krishna, He is all the names you have ever possibly thought of. If it's a named God, it's the Son. If it has no name, it's the magnetism back of the Sun that is causing the Sun. Because the Sun he may be a great God, he may be a big hero in the sky, but he's not as good and not as great as what causes him. The cause of all things is what we worship. We don't worship the physical manifestation. Oh, it's beautiful. Waterfalls are beautiful. The moon's beautiful. But if you bend your knee to these, you limit yourself. That's why scriptures say, watch out that you do not bend your knee to the moon and the sun and all of these good things that I have created. Because that's the prime creator speaking there, saying, my magnetic white light can produce any of these things and remove them at an instant at my will and wish, should I wish to, any time. Do not be falling in love with these material entrapments. Know that they are temporary. It's a temporal existence, spatial and temporal. It is not the true life. Beyond this life is the true one. And he who thinks that keeping up with the Joneses and climbing corporate ladders right now is the true life. You look at Tony Blair and Barack Obama, they think they've made it to the pinnacle of all universal power. They think they're at the top of everything. They are little ants insignificant little peanut-brained ants. They've climbed a stupid ladder that does not even exist. And when the moment of death comes, they will realize that they are empty with spiritual atoms. There are no soul atoms in their body for them to go to the higher place. And their atoms will be rejected by the moon, and they will be bounced back to the earth to reincarnate as retarded gnats, as insects, cats, pigs, swine, donkeys, and they will be eoing for the rest of, who knows how many incarnations, because they missed the opportunity to become heroes. We are here to heroify our lives. And I just made that word up.
That's a cool word, cool word. David, are you there to start chipping into this one?
I'm luxuriating in the wordplay of a true magician. I'm enjoying every single moment of talking to a true saint. Santos, of course, is saint. Santos, gosh, where do I start? I share your fascination with astrotheology. My own occult teacher, Jesse Thompson, many years ago introduced me to a wonderful book, Veritas, by Henry Melville. And we used to go on and on. Without the Persian law key, it's useless. Where do you think the origins of this master science actually lay? Is it with a particular culture, a particular civilization, or do you think we all had access to it from the beginning?
That's it. You just got it there, David. We all had access to it in the beginning when we had more consciousness. Now, when was that? Well, everything is cyclical. Our sun is in a relationship with another sun. It's a binary. And when they are close together, they combine their energies and light, and our consciousness raises. All beings on this planet have their consciousness raised and expanded. And that's when you remember all of these sciences. No one invented them. The Babylonians did not invent them, neither did the Mayans, nor the Egyptians or the Indians. None of them did. They all learnt this, remembered it from when they departed from their original source. When we leave the land of stillness called the Empyrean, and we enter into the 10 rings, the 10 Kabbalistic Sephiroth or rings of creation. And there are 7 heavens. The moon, the earth is in the middle of these 10 rings that we enter into. And when we enter into them, we know how electrical light produces all effects. It does so via ecliptics. Every photon, every particle has an ecliptic, and it goes through 12 stages of its cycle through its ecliptic, starting at Aries, finishing at Pisces. Everything does this, and we knew this. It's the religion of the universe. It's the way electricity expresses itself. It expresses itself as one force divided in 2 sexes, masculine and feminine, positive and negative. Then it's also 3-phase, generation, operation, dissolution, God. Then it has 4 polarities, earth, or 4 states, earth, water, air, and fire. These are, in the science mind, these are solid, liquid, gas, and radiance, or plasma. Then, from 4, you jump to 12. And if you remember these numbers, these sacred numbers, then you will understand how all the universe is produced. And all the races of mankind have this memory of this science. Some have gone off and tabulated their record of this memory in their particular way. So the Indians have tabulated all their Sanskrit words and all of their knowledge into their books. Then we have the Hermetic Western tradition based on Kabbalah. Everything in Europe, in the West, is based on Kabbalah and astrology. And we developed and tabulated our remembering of this knowledge in our particular way. But the names we use for the sun and for the gods are just different set of names, perhaps, to the ones that the Indians and the Mayans used and whoever else, but they are the same forces that we are talking about, the same netters of nature, as the Egyptians called the angels, netters, from which we get nature. They are nature creatures. And so what happened then with the further decline of consciousness was theories and opinions started because people lost. It's pretty much like if you take a modern flat-screen TV to some tribe in the Amazon that hasn't seen white people or any technology ever, period, and you bring this TV to them and you turn it on and all of a sudden an image comes up and everything like that, and you leave that to them as a gift. You know, you can teach them for 6 or 7 months how to use that TV and they all know how to press the buttons and everything like that. But when that TV breaks down, do you think any of them are capable of repairing that TV? No. That TV is going to be put in some room and they're going to cover it over and they're going to treat it as sacred even though it's broken because they know that it was magic. It did some things that they can't explain, but there it is. They can't fix it and it's sitting there. And that's what all these pyramids and all these megaliths are doing around on the earth today. They were built, obviously, at a time when we knew much more than we do now because we can't even make those buildings now. We still scratch our heads at how they were made. And that's exactly the proof in the pudding that consciousness goes up and down cyclically. And we have just come through the trough, the dark ages, the loss, almost total loss of consciousness. Scientists themselves teach that we only use a small percentage of our brain power. So this is the sort of thing that devastates humankind, these cycles, these up and down cycles where we lose and gain and then lose again and gain again. And so this is what we need to be ever present, ever mindful of, because what happens is the world is full of opinions. There's some schools that say, oh, we evolved, we were all dumb, cells, and then we became fish, and then we went to the land and blah, 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 and that's how it all happened. Then there are other guys like Michael Cremo, a great scientist, who says it was devolution. We were just cosmic beings of great light, and then slowly but surely this all deteriorated, and here we are now. We've devolved. Well, both are true. You see, this is where people get lost in their theories. Both are true, because you have to understand the cyclical nature of this illusory electrical world.
Gosh, I think some of our listeners know that I've been struggling with flu for 2.5 weeks now, and so my defenses are down. I'm trying to hide my immense admiration for you, Santos, but I don't think I'm going to do too well. This is wonderful. Let me throw something at you. I mean, I noticed that some of your critics, that's possibly not the right word I'm looking for, some of the people who commented on a great deal of your work on YouTube have accused you of syncretism. Of course, that can be a good thing as well as a bad thing. I notice, however, from your own comments, that you tend to focus on the interrelatedness of all knowledge. I mean, there's the hint for me of old theories of the universitas literarum, the universal knowledge behind all branches of knowledge. Do you feel that's what you're working with? Are you working towards that, or is it something that belongs to future generations?
Oh, it's upon us now. If I can do it, then anyone can. And that's what I'm showing in a very, very simple way. What I'm showing is that everything is interrelated, and I've proven it. I've proven that we have an atomic language. We don't have English, Hebrew, German, Aramaic, blah, 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 etc., etc. These are all from one tree, root tree language, and it's atomic. It's atomic. That's why we have such a word as etymology. It's not etymology, it's atomology, because all words are atomic. All words come from atom. All things come from atom. All thoughts come from atom. All worlds come from atom. Atom is the sun. It is the chief representative of electrical force in the universe. Nothing else produces electricity like the sun. Only the sun does. And so the sun is atum, and it is responsible for all thoughts, things, and anything that exists in its sphere, in its domain. And through atomology or etymology, you can trace all words to one word, atum. As the Egyptians said, all is atum. And then the Hindus said, all is om. Well, that's atom. So basically, and it's interesting because the Egyptians called the world dunya, and so did the Hindus. They call the world, in Punjabi, they call the world dunya. And dun comes from adun. So when you understand this, and you understand the letters that make up the world, as the Zohar and the Sefer Yetzirah and all of these great Kabbalistic books teach us, the world was produced by letters. And Pythagoras said it was produced by numbers. Well, in Gematria, letters have numerical value, and so they are just two sides of, I would say that one is like the red and one is the blue. And everything is like this. Everything in the universe is like this. It has its one side and then its opposite side, and they both work together, and you cannot remove the red and have only the blue. You cannot have a positive only electrical universe. You cannot. You can't just have a good electrical universe. It must be good and evil. This is where many, many people go wrong. They just can't differentiate and understand the two worlds that exist always together. The immaterial one that is forever now and forever exists unchanged at all times, and the one that comes and goes, which is illusory. And so they believe that the illusory one is the only one that exists. They have no sense or no understanding or perception at all of the invisible power that causes this world of electrical force. And so they are enamored of this world, and they are taken by it, seduced by it, and tricked by it. And they are cheated of their inheritance of returning to the Empyrean through the 10 rings. And the 10 rings are these in this order. Moon first, she is the first heaven. She is the keeper of the first gates. She will not allow any souls to ascend that are not worthy. That's why when humans reincarnate, they are called, and they're bad humans, we call them demons, deities of the moon, or demons, or what's the other word I was thinking of? Anyway, look, most of the words that we have for people who are like demons or monsters, there you go, moon monster. Someone who is really, really evil will say, "Oh, he's a monster." Well, he's a moon star, of course, because the moon, she is Kirche or Kirke, and she'll turn Ulysses' men into swine at the drop of a hat, because that's her job. Then after the moon's heaven is the second one. The second ring belongs to Mercury, the messenger of the gods. The third belongs to Venus, otherwise known as Vishnu, Venus. Then is the sun. The sun is in the middle. He owns the middle kingdom. Then after the sun is Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. Saturn is Kronos. He is the temporal master of the universe. He is the first and the original. Saturn is the king and the great one. He is the Lord of the Rings. After him, there are 3 more rings. Uranus is the 8th, the octave. He owns what's called the firmament. He lives with all the stars. Uranus is the heavens. Uranos in Greek is the heavens, the first of the invisible planets. Uranus rules the 8th sphere, and that's where we're heading. We're heading for the firmament. And then beyond the firmament is the primum mobile. The crystalline sea, ruled by Neptune. Then the primum mobile, and that's where Pluto is. The primum mobile is the first ring. And these are the 10 rings that we must escape from. It's a trap, it's a prison, but it's a loving prison. Please do never ever listen to anyone who says it's all evil. It's all, a distorted Metatronic manifestation template. Don't listen to all that crap. These people are deluded. They love listening to their own voices. It's good and evil. Everything is good and evil. Please never forget this simple truth, because beyond that, there is only good. As Jesus said to someone who called him good, he said, "Do not call me good, for only one is good, my Father in the heavens." That's referring to the good magnetic light of non-manifestation. Because everything that manifests vibrates atomically and must be good and evil at the same time, always at the same time, but balanced. If that is balanced, good and evil is balanced in nature, it will balance out in the middle to what seems like good. It's a copy of good. It's not the real good, but it still is good. See, we can achieve good in this planet. We can do it tomorrow. Paradise can be here tomorrow. All we have to do is one simple thing: balanced evil and good right into the middle, right down the middle. And then we will have a condition which is similar to that good of God, magnetic prime creator. And it's a good enough good. But the world of creation, it's the beautiful world. You see, Plotinus in the 2nd century, he wrote a tractate, and he called it The Good and the Beautiful. And those Neoplatonists, they referred to the 2 gods, the good one and the beautiful one. The good one has no name. It's magnetism. It's magnetic power. And its child, its only begotten child, electricity, it is beautiful because the world is beautiful. But inside of beautiful is good and evil. That's the thing we must remember. So please pay no heed to anyone that comes along and said, "Oh, this is all good," or "that is all bad." Unless they're referring to magnetism, which is all good, then they've got no idea what they're talking about.
What an astonishing response. It's a bit like talking to Edgar Casey. Santos, what is your own personal practice? Do you meditate? Do you perform ritual? And what do you advise us all to do? I mean, what do you do? What do you think we should all be doing?
Well, common sense, basically. And then again, it seems that many people do not have common sense, but if you are reasonably unaffected and reasonably intelligent, common sense should dictate that really we just need to practice things that cause no harm and no injury to others, and grow the seed of love that each one of us has in us. We all have different measure of love and different kinds of love. Some people are good with showing their feelings. Other people are good they're generous with their love, but they don't talk much, but they'll, open their pockets and give things. Other people are good with hugs and kisses. Other people are good with sending letters of love. And other people do things, like you see some people, nurses that are good with geriatrics, and that look after them like that. I'd be hopeless looking at after an old person. I'd probably, trip over and bump into them and they'd fall over and break their necks or something like that. So each one has a different way of showing love, but we have to grow that love, live moderate habits. Obviously, no overeating, no overdrinking, no overindulging, and living the meditation rather than, see, I find it very crazy how some people, they go to yoga classes in the evenings and they rush off to yoga class. They've done a whole day of work in the office. They're stressed. They come home, they rush, and they stuff some food down their throats. They rush to yoga for a half an hour, and do some 10 minutes of meditation. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's great. But why don't we just wake up in the morning and start meditating? That's what I do. I start it's just one thing. I do just one thing, and that is, breathe, know who I am, do some chanting. I love chanting Om. When I chant Om, I put my tongue up against the palate so that my tongue is connecting with the palate and the pineal gland. It sits right under the pineal gland, and you always should have your tongue there anyway. When you're not talking, tongue up, just as a newborn baby does. Tongue up to the very back of the palate and hold it there all the time. When I'm working, when I'm on the computer, whatever I'm doing, I put myself to sleep with this tongue up to the top of the palate, because you have to complete that electrical circuit which will drive energy up the spine and open your chakras. And so when you're humming, chanting, Om, your tongue should be there, vibrating and tickling the palate, so stimulating the pineal gland. And you should always be touching your fingers. Any one of your fingers should be touching your thumb. So your pointers, both pointers touching the thumb when you do your Oms, then you do your middle finger, then your ring finger, then your pinky, and then you go back. I like to chant Hare Krishna because the Hare Krishna chant is very, very ancient, and they say those 16 words are the most powerful words in the universe, and they are Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Each one of those words has the letter R in it. The letter R is the 18th letter of the alphabet, 666. The letter R is half of electrical force. The other half of electrical force is the letter L. R and L is Ra L. That is electricity. So when you sing the letter R in the old rhotic style, it must vibrate on the tip of your tongue. The L is also produced in the same spot. These are called liquids. The letter R and the letter L, they're interchangeable in every language under the sun, and they are called liquids. The R is the rhotic liquid, and the L is the lateral liquid, because the sound comes through the sides of the tongue, laterally. It comes from two places in the mouth, whereas the letter R has only one spot where the sound comes from. And these letters are the two halves of electrical creation. And so when you say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, 16 times, which is the magic number, sweet 16, 6 plus 1 is 7, perfection. This is the Krishnas say if you do that 16 times every day, you will ward off many, many, many evils and add many days to your life. Now, that's not the only one, though. I don't believe it's the only one to chant. There is Om, there is Allah. The Muslims go Allah, 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 Allah. That letter L, it's so important. Try them. Try all of these chants. You don't have to do it out loud. You can even do it in your head. You can even hum it in your head. But let's talk about the health for a moment, because the most important place to start your journey upwards in consciousness is in the body, the temple. The temple must be pure. Now, most Westerners have no idea how dirty and foul their bodies are. Their intestines are full of old, undigested materials, especially meat. And meat, some people have meat in there that's been sitting there for 70, 80 years, and they go to have a colon cleanse and flush that black stuff out. It's like coal. It's like sump oil, and it stinks. It's putrid. That is what is causing, there's little pockets in the bowels that get mucousy and acidic, and that's where bowel cancer begins, because of the mucus. And so I would recommend to learn how to do coffee enemas. Now, for $20, you can get yourself an enema kit. You just go to the chemist and just buy an enema kit. It will come with instructions. You take it home. This is what you do. I do this every day. I do 2 enemas, and I love them. The first one, 2 litres of warm water with a pinch of salt in it. So you shove that up your backside, stick it in. 2 litres. As soon as that empties, that bag will empty in about 1.5 minutes. As soon as it does that, you get up, you go to the toilet, flush it out. That salt in the warm water will prevent the bowels from having spasms and from cramping, because the next thing you put in there is 1 litre of coffee. And that's what a coffee enema is. You have to learn how to boil your coffee for 20 minutes. There's hundreds of YouTube videos that are very, very short. It only takes you 5 minutes to learn how to do an enema. For goodness sakes, all you do is stick water in this kit, and then you shove this little thing up your backside, you empty it out into your backside, and then you empty it out again. How hard is that? And so what I mix, though, with the coffee, because the coffee is very, very profound in your bowels. It cleans all the parasites and all the dirt, and you get rid of years and years and years of harmful toxins. What I do is I add stuff to the coffee. I add 30 drops of MMS, Miracle Mineral Solution by Jim Humble. I add 30 drops of that in, and I tell you what, it just devastates the parasites. This is one place to start, guys. Coffee enemas. Get rid of the backside of your toxins in your body, because the front side in the mouth is easier to fix. There's a lot of things you can do to make for a much healthier body. For a start, I would be consuming as much raw food, organic raw food as possible, and I would be drinking some of the good teas like mint tea, lemon balm, nettle, neem, and in particular cleaver's tea. Cleaver's tea, if you take 3 cups of cleaver's tea a day, you will, in 3 months' time, you will not have any stones in your body. I did a Andreas Moritz fast in January. I got rid of a tapeworm that was about 1 meter long in my body, and I got rid of hundreds and hundreds of green liver stones that were blocking the bile ducts in my body, hence diminishing my energy input and output, because not enough bile is being excreted into the stomach to digest the food. So most of the listeners today, 90%, if not more, will have stones in their livers and kidneys and gallbladder, etc. They're all different coloured, and you can eliminate those by drinking 3 cups of cleaver's tea every day for 3 months, and you can transform your body just with cleaver's tea, let alone the mint, the lemon balm, the neem, and the nettle. Nettle is also really good for stones. Take your pick, nettle or cleaver's tea. But the thing is, you've got 2 ways of cleaning your body, from behind and from in front. Now, a lot of people, they take MMS like I used to do, in the mouth. This causes a lot of havoc for people. Really, really disturbs them because their stomach and intestines start to get irritated, and the parasites, when they get a taste of the MMS, they poo because they're starting to die. They're getting hit by this MMS, so they start pooing, and you get very, very sick. So it's not the best way. You see, unfortunately, I don't think guys like Jim Humble thought about this very much. The best way to stick MMS in your body is in the backside, because you've got to clean the backside first. Get rid of, just imagine your exhaust pipe in the car is full of moths and spider webs and dirt and dust, and you go and start the car up with good petrol. You know, it's no use putting good petrol in. There's no use starting it up because it's blocked in the back. So you've got to get rid of the back first. Do the back end first, guys. Listeners, please learn how to do coffee enemas, or at least go down to your colon cleanser, spend $100 and get him to stick a pipe up your backside, and he will, for an hour, it'll just circulate in there warm water, and it will flush out all kinds of things that you haven't seen for decades.
My dear friend, a masterclass. We're approaching that time, Paul, my dear. I've got so many questions. I'm stumbling over myself, but we're getting to the end. Anything you want to chip in?
No, it's interesting stuff, checking all that out. And yeah, I have actually heard of Miracle Mineral Solution. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is.
Miracle Mineral Solution.
Yep,
yeah,
that's it.
I think I bought some a long while ago, but it was actually quite complicated how you do it all together. It's not like you buy a bottle of it and do it. You had to kind of mix it, didn't you, and do it in a certain way. So I never really got round to testing it properly, but maybe I should give it another go.
Well, if anybody needs to learn how to do enemas, just get on YouTube. It's quite easy. I've got a $20 bag. I bought it for $20, and I fill that up with 2 litres of warm water. And it works. It just it is something that absolutely works. But there's also other things you can put in there. You can put essential oils in there, because that will treat your intestines really, really nice and kill all parasites. There's many other things you can put in there.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to let our listeners know about what you're up to that they can check out?
I would be having a look at all of my archives on Astrotheology Radio. On Astrotheology Radio, I've done about 10 shows on astrotheology and syncretism, which would probably be the most profound and impactful ones I've ever done. So you can go there.
Great. You know, that sounds brilliant. I mean, I know you've also been involved in the legal side of what's out there at the moment, and people's rights regarding court cases and whatnot. And you it was quite publicised where you had your own dealings with the court. It would be great to have you back on the show to do a special on that if you're at all free in the future.
Paul, forgive me for jumping in there. We've got to get Santos back. I mean, the man's a mine of information. Absolutely fascinating material.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Excellent. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day, Santos, and we'll be speaking with you soon.
Take care, Santos.
All the best.
Was Santos Bonacci.
What a completely fascinating man. A unique voice, a scholarly voice. As I say, I hugely admire him and his work. It had me entranced, Paul. How about you? Yeah,
no, I like a good old spiritual chat, and he's very deep, gets into what he's doing, and it's interesting. And yeah, listeners, you can check out Santos Bonacci. He's basically been involved in a lot of sort of legal stuff, challenging the legal side of things, which is quite a lot of that out there at the moment. Some people call it the free man of the land movement. I've kind of got my own views of it. Some of it I've got a lot of time for. Some of it I scratch my head with a bit. But it would be great to get Santos back on again to talk about that, because that's another really interesting subject.
Well, look, I think we've got to. I mean, you and I have been avoiding to a certain extent, sort of, where all this is leading in social terms. But I think it's time to sort of open that discussion on the talks. We need some people on. We need Santos back. I mean, that's beyond argument. But we need some people to say why they're getting involved in those movements and what it is they're trying to achieve. I mean, it's time to address that issue. At least that's my feeling.
And of course, there's a lot of politics going on at the moment with elections coming up. So that's something that we might get on the show a little bit, get a bit political.
Well, I mean, it is time for it. We've always said, let's have everybody from across the spectrum on the show, and it seems like the right thing to do at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure we're doing. If we get a right-wing guy on the show, we've got to make sure we also get a left-wing guy on the show, and a middle-winged guy, and a non-winged guy, and a pink guy with blue dots.
Free thoughts and open minds.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in again, guys, and thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this evening's show. Coming up next, we've got Graham Butcher, who's going to talk to us about native British stav fighting. He's an expert on that, and we'll be talking about power animals, shamanism, and all sorts of stuff related to that. Very interesting guy, and not the sort of guy, although he doesn't look like some huge Jeff Capes type figure, you wouldn't mess with him in a pub, would you, David?
He knows his way around the ring. I mean, when this company in a previous incarnation put on the London Thing, the London All Thing as it's being called nowadays, a unique event at that time, we've had people copying, but hey, we were first. Graham, with one of his assistants, his partner possibly, I can't remember, it was a few years ago now, demonstrated some of these traditional skills. They were pretty scary and, of course, incredibly health-giving, so there's another side to it as well.
Well, don't forget to tune in to that one, ladies and gentlemen. Until the next time, please keep linking the show. Tell your friends about it. It really helps us out. We're doing this off our own backs out of enjoyment and for the love of alternative media. If you can afford to, go to our website, click on the donations button and chuck us, even if it's 50p, whatever you can afford. It can help us develop the show further, especially with our live shows coming up that we're still getting stuck into and preparing for. So I think that's it, David, and I think it's time to say that goodbye.
Chowsy, chowsy.